The ending of 100 Years of Solitude Season 2 delivers one devastating idea. The greatest tragedy isn't the massacre itself, it's how an entire society can be convinced that it never happened. While several major characters die by the end of the episode, the finale is about the Buendia family's endless cycle of isolation. Every major storyline, from José Arcadio Segundo's survival to Ursula's death and young Aureliano inheriting Melquiades' secrets, serves that central theme. The episode opens after the Banana Plantation massacre, with José Arcadio Segundo escaping from the train, carrying thousands of bodies. Traumatized and barely alive, he tells everyone he meets that more than 3,000 workers, women, and children were murdered before their bodies were dumped into the sea. Yet nobody believes him. The government establishes an official version of events, claiming that nothing ever happened. Soldiers and local authorities repeat it. Ordinary citizens begin repeating it as well. Before long, people accept that there was never a massacre. José Arcadio is haunted because he becomes the only living witness still willing to tell the truth. Every time he repeats what happened, he's fighting against history itself being rewritten. He isolates himself inside Melquiades' room while the rest of the world forgets. He lives inside a place devoted to preserving forgotten knowledge. One of the finale's strangest moments occurs when government soldiers search the Buendia house. José Arcadio is standing inside Melquiades' room. A soldier looks directly toward him, yet somehow never actually sees him. Rather than functioning as a traditional hiding place, Melquiades' room appears almost supernatural. Throughout the series, it's existed outside ordinary reality, preserving memories, manuscripts, and knowledge that refuse to disappear even as the rest of Macondo changes. Whether we interpret the moment as magic or magical realism doesn't really matter. The point is that truth survives inside the room even when the outside world refuses to acknowledge it. It becomes a sanctuary for memory. While José Arcadio struggles to preserve history, Fernanda spends the entire episode trying to erase it. She lies to José Arcadio by claiming Meme died peacefully. She invents a miraculous story explaining where the baby came from. She refuses to acknowledge that the child's father was an ordinary worker. She even tells young Aureliano that nobody will ever know he exists. Everything Fernanda does revolves around protecting appearances instead of accepting reality. And this mirrors exactly what the government is doing after the massacre. The authorities erase political history. Fernanda erases family history. Both believe controlling the story is more important than confronting the truth. And like Fernanda, Ursula sees beyond social status. The moment she meets the boy, she recognizes Buendia characteristics: his quiet nature, thoughtful eyes, and resemblance to previous generations. She never questions whether he deserves to belong. Instead, she names him Aureliano, accepting him into the family despite everyone else's attempts to hide his existence. It's one of Ursula's final acts before her death and reflects what she's represented throughout the entire story, which is continuity. Even as Macondo collapses, she continues holding the family together for as long as she can. The rain is much more than a natural disaster. It represents the long emotional aftermath of the massacre. While the government insists life has returned to normal, the rain traps Macondo in a state where nothing can move forward. Businesses collapse, communication disappears, the railway stops functioning, families become isolated, and the town decays. Macondo doesn't recover because it refuses to acknowledge what happened before the storm began. Only after years of suffering does the rain finally stop, but by then nearly everything has already been lost. Ursula predicts early in the episode that she will die when the rain stops. When that prophecy comes true, it marks the end of an entire era. She's witnessed every generation of the Buendia family, preserving traditions and warning each new generation against repeating old mistakes. Her death leaves the family without its moral center. From that point forward, Fernanda's rigid control dominates the household. The timing also proves how people rarely escape fate, instead they gradually fulfill it. The finale's most poetic moment comes when the narrator reveals that the two brothers die on the same day, August 9. Throughout their lives, they were mistaken for one another, almost functioning as mirrored versions of the same person. Their deaths complete that parallel. Yet they represent two very different responses to tragedy. José Arcadio spends his remaining years preserving historical truth. Aureliano Segundo spends his final years trying to provide hope for the next generation, working himself to exhaustion so Amaranta Ursula can have opportunities beyond Macondo. Both dedicate their final years to others rather than themselves. Before dying, Jose Arcadio invites little Aureliano into Melquiades' room and entrusts him with two things: the mysterious parchments nobody has ever deciphered, and the truth about the massacre. Those two responsibilities are connected. The parchments symbolize hidden knowledge, waiting for someone capable of understanding it. The massacre represents historical truth, waiting for someone brave enough to preserve it. Jose Arcadio understands he can't fight against forgetting forever. Instead, he passes that responsibility to the next generation. In many ways, this scene establishes young Aureliano as the family's future. The finale ends on a bittersweet note. Justice is never served for the victims of the massacre. Macondo never acknowledges what happened. Fernanda continues hiding uncomfortable truths. The Buendia family loses both Ursula and Aureliano Segundo on the same day. Santa Sofia disappears without recognition after spending her entire life holding the household together. Young Aureliano is left trapped inside a house filled with secrets that only he knows. Yet the ending isn't hopeless. Although governments can rewrite history, they cannot erase it entirely as long as someone remembers. Jose Arcadio understands this before he dies. That's why he asks young Aureliano to never forget that 3,000 workers were murdered at the train station. Promise becomes the finale's emotional conclusion. While Macondo chooses collective amnesia, the future of the Buendia family now rests with one child carrying memories that everyone else once buried. In that sense, the ending isn't about death or decline, it's about the fragile survival of truth itself.